let's talk about one of the most important real estate deals in all of history. But this wasn't a transaction driven by ambition or profit. Nope. This one was born from a moment of profound personal loss. It's the story of how a single piece of land, a simple cave, became the physical anchor for the destiny of an entire people. So where does this all start? It starts with heartbreak. Sarah, Abraham's wife for over 100 years, has just died. And the text, it's just so simple and so powerful. Abraham, this great patriarch, is just overcome with grief. He mourns for her, he weeps for her, and this raw, human emotion is what sets everything in motion.
And this leads him to a huge, immediate problem. See, Abraham is basically a nomad in the land of Canaan. He doesn't own a single square foot of it. So to give his wife the dignified, permanent resting place she deserves, he has to buy it. But how in the world do you do that when you're a total outsider?
To really understand the weight of this purchase, we have to first understand Sarah. The text doesn't just say she died. It's very specific. It gives us her exact age. And hidden inside that number is this beautiful tribute to the incredible life she lived. 127 years. Now, that's a long life, for sure. But, as you're about to see, the real secret is in how the text writes out that number.
And this is where things get really fascinating. The medieval sage Rashi, he looks at this and notices the text is structured kind of funny. It says 100 years, and 20 years, and 7 years. Rashi says, hold on, that's not just clunky phrasing. It's a code. He explains that at 100 years old, she had the spiritual purity of a 20-year-old, and at 20, she had the pure, innocent beauty of a 7-year-old.
So here's the bottom line. What Rashi is telling us is that her life was this perfect, unbroken chain of goodness. Every single stage of her life was as virtuous and beautiful as the last. This wasn't just any woman. She was a spiritual giant. And a person like that, well, she deserves more than just some temporary grave. She deserves a permanent legacy. So Abraham rises from his mourning. The grieving husband now has to switch gears and become a diplomat. He goes to the local landowners, the Hittites, to make his case. He introduces himself with this incredible, almost contradictory phrase, ger toshaf, a stranger and a settler. Rashi explains this is just a brilliant piece of negotiation. He's sending a double message. On one hand, he's saying, look, I'm just a humble stranger here. I'm throwing myself on your mercy. But on the other hand, there's this subtle hint. You know, God promised me this land, so technically I'm a future settler. Let's just do this the easy way. But his actual request is so direct and humble. He doesn't make demands. He doesn't bring up God's promise. He simply asks, please, sell me a burial site. He's vulnerable, he's grieving, and he is completely at the mercy of their goodwill. What happens next is a masterclass in ancient Middle Eastern bargaining. It's full of polite words, posturing, and a ton of hidden meanings. It's this delicate dance, and Abraham has to navigate it perfectly.
So the Hittites, they respond with a great deal of respect. They call him an elect of God. They offer him the best of their own burial plots. Now that sounds incredibly generous, right? But notice what they're not saying. They don't say, yes, we will sell you the land. They're offering a temporary favor, not a permanent, legal transfer of property.
Then, the guy who owns the actual plot, Abraham has his eye on, a man named Ephron, he steps forward, and in front of everyone, he makes this even grander offer. Buying it? Forget it. I give you the field. I give you the cave. It's yours. What a magnificent gesture. Or is it? This is where Rashi gives us this stunning insight. He points out that in the original Hebrew text, when Ephron starts talking about money, his name is spelled differently. It's missing a letter. Now, to you and me, that just looks like a typo. To a sage like Rashi, it's a giant red flag. It's a sign that something is missing from the man himself. And this clue just brilliantly exposes the whole situation. Rashi explains that the missing letter shows us the real Ephron. This is a man of big words and small actions. His public offer to give the land away, it was just a performance. It was empty politeness, and he never, ever intended for Abraham to accept it. He was all talk. Now, Abraham is a shrewd guy. He understands this game perfectly. He bows, he accepts the politeness, but he gently insists on paying. This basically forces Ephron's hand. He has to name his price. And this, right here, is the climax of the deal. So Ephron names the price, but listen to how he does it. He wraps the number in this dismissive language. 400 shekels of silver? What's that between two friends like us? He makes it sound like it's nothing, just a formality. But it was anything but trivial.
400 shekels of silver. For one field in a cave, this was an absolutely enormous sum of money. And Rashi's commentary shows us just how crazy this price really was. First, these weren't just regular shekels. They were large, heavy shekels, a much more valuable kind of currency. Second, the text is clear they were current with the merchant, which means this was the highest quality, universally accepted silver, top-tier stuff. And yet, Abraham doesn't even try to haggle. He immediately accepts and pays the full inflated price. Why? Because he needed this purchase to be absolute, legal, and undisputed forever.
And with that payment, the deal is done. Abraham now officially owns his first piece of the promised land. But the true significance of this Cave of Machpelah, was really only just beginning. You know, the name of the cave itself, Machpelah, means doubled, and Rashi explains this is because it was always destined to hold founding couples. It literally had two levels, a lower and an upper chamber, perfect for pairs. And that is exactly what happened. Tradition says that Adam and Eve were already buried there. After Abraham and Sarah, their son Isaac and his wife Rebekah were buried there. And after them, their son Jacob and his wife Leah. This one single purchase, made out of love for one woman, became the eternal resting place for the founding fathers and mothers of an entire nation. Which leaves us with this incredible final thought. A man's love for his wife leads him to make his first and only land purchase. He knowingly overpays, makes sure the deed is ironclad, all just to honor her memory. And in doing that, he acquires the very first undeniable foothold in the land of his destiny. It just goes to show how the most personal acts of love and grief can ripple through history, laying the very stones upon which a future is built.